Hello, everyone. It's my turn to share Europeana's experience in education and to tell you more about our successes and future plans. Education is one of Europeana's key target markets, together with research, tourism, and the creative industries. We picked education because of its potential, and not only in terms of market size and growth, but most importantly because here we see the area where we can make most impact. There is a general understanding that education can benefit greatly from cultural content. The rich and diverse cultural data can be used on various subjects, from history to design and arts. It can be applied in both formal and non-formal educational settings, and it supports greatly innovation. So digital data in particular can be used in many new interactive tools and online services. But of course there are many challenges, and we are fully aware of that. In Europe, there are so many educational systems. Each country has its own educational system, its own curriculum. In formal and informal education, there are various requirements for the tools and services and materials used there. There is a variety of stakeholders and users in education, starting from the very formal, like ministries of education, to schools, university educators themselves, providers of educational technology materials, students. And finally, we at Europeana at least acknowledge that there is a lack of understanding and knowledge about the user needs, the educational user needs. So having in mind all of that, we decided that strategically we can play two roles. First one is being a distribution partner and develop partnerships with key players in education so that we can integrate Europeana collections in their systems and in this way allow end users like students to access these materials. The second role is being a facilitator. This is an area and role where we, in general, think we are strong. And we want to help strengthen the relationship between culture and educational sectors so that we can achieve greater visibility and reuse of cultural data in education. So a bit more about each of these roles. I'll start with the distribution partnerships. We decided to go for the multipliers, to work with multipliers which are key players with well-established communities of educators in Europe. The reason for that is that it's really difficult to reach and also to get enough knowledge of the various students and players in education. We also want to work with various players, commercial and non-commercial. And an example here is our collaboration with Apple, the iTunes U pilot as well, the partnership with our host today, European Schoolnet. We are also working together with formal and informal education partners. All of Europeana DSI1 partners are representative of the formal education, more or less. An example of informal education is surprisingly Apple, because the book we created with them can be used for lifelong learning. I also will talk about EMA, the European MOOC aggregator, a bit later, which courses can also be used by anyone. And finally, we are working together with partners who are with special focus or one who are not that specialized. European Schoolnet provides online content across subjects. And Inventing Europe, for instance, focuses on science of history in Europe. Euroclio, naturally, focuses on history. A few success stories from our work so far. I'll start with our host, European Schoolnet. Together we have created a mechanism for automated integration of Europeana collections on the Learning Resources Exchange portal. This is the online service for ministries of education in Europe, so that schools and universities in these countries can access materials from other countries and other providers. So far, we have enriched and displayed over 2,000 items, and we'll continue building up and adding more. The other example is with Apple. Maybe you know that already if you've been to our conferences, but we joined the Apple AD in Residence program. This stands for Apple Distinguished Educator in Residence in 2015. So we worked with the Belgian history teacher Gwen Verhoeven and Euroclio, and together we created an interactive book, an iTunes U course on the outbreak of the First World War. The book and the iTunes U course were released in October 2015, both in Dutch and English, and they were quite well received globally. We actually have downloads of both the course and the book on each continent. And something in the making. As mentioned earlier, we are working with Emma, and we have just launched a call for educators to create the massive open online course using Europeana content. So whoever is interested in doing such a course can submit their proposal till 31st of July. What about the second role, the facilitation? We understand that to strengthen the relationship between culture and education, it's important to do also advocacy work. So therefore, we created under two presidencies, the Italian in 2014 and the Latvian in 2015, the European Education and Learning Policy Recommendations. These recommendations represented the view of 60 experts coming from 21 countries and from the European Ministries of Culture and Education. Just a quick overview what these recommendations are. First, we want to set up a Europe-wide structural dialogue between policymakers, cultural institutions, and educators to improve access and avoid duplication of efforts. Because there are too many cases where partners, not only partners, any of these players create something in the educational sector, and either they don't have the opportunity or the willingness to share these lessons and to scale the initiative. Secondly, we want to prioritize the provision of fit for education and learning content by cultural institutions and ministries. We all understand the importance of high quality data. Nothing can happen without it. Thirdly, we want to emphasize the development of inclusive and accessible digital learning resources. And this very much relates to something Stefano mentioned early in the morning, that we need multilingual, cross-border, and innovative materials. And finally, we want to promote open licenses and improve access, an important condition recognized by many of us. What's more? We went one step further and created and announced the European Education Task Force. And as Barbara said, there are at least 3 people in this room who attended the European Education Task Force. In total, we were 10 professionals from 9 European countries with various backgrounds, from NGOs to Ministry of Culture or technical providers. The goal was to put European policy recommendation into practice by sharing good practices and by doing joint advocacy work on European level. So what did we do? We met twice, face-to-face, once in Paris and one at the European IGN in Amsterdam in November. And we did stakeholder analysis of the educational sector. We shared best practices. We discussed what to do to create an enabling environment for reuse of cultural content in education. We came up with recommendations which were shared in a special blog under the title 7 Keys to Unlock Potential of Free Use of Cultural Content. We also shared a template for sharing of best practices and case studies. We started the development of a database of such case studies and committed to promote them, and the existing one, but also the future one, under the hashtag Europeana for Education, in a series of blog posts on Europeana Pro, but also on our partner channels, as well on social media. The Education Task Force also worked a bit like partnership incubation hub, because a lot of ideas for future partnerships were discussed. And an example is the collaboration between Europeana and the French Ministry of Education, EduTech. And I'm glad to say that Europeana will be the special theme at the Big Summer Educational Summit Ludovia this August. And finally, we introduced the Europeana for Education community, which will be an online space and a community for sharing best practices, for asking questions, sharing the pain, looking for ways to address them. So what's next? For those of you who attended Europeana AGM 2015, you might remember that we asked what's the biggest change Europeana could deliver to your community by 2020, and we did the paper plane survey. So this was to a certain extent a surprise, but a very nice surprise that education was mentioned as the most important change. So our commitment to education is really big for the future. And if I may steal and rephrase the event slogan today, what we do is in the future is to show, to do, and tell. Meaning that on the show that we at Europeana will continue featuring openly licensed and high-quality data. We work with partners to enrich this data. We're doing that already with European SchoolNet, but also with Historiana. Will do, meaning that we not only continue developing our partnership with these I1 partners and trying new partnerships, both in traditional and not so formal education, but we encourage other people to share what they have done in their partnerships in the context of Europeana for Education community. And finally, we strongly encourage you to share your good practices. And we are ready to promote them on our channel so that Europeana for Education community can really grow and help achieve our goal in general. So thank you very much.